Heyo everybody, Haku here. I literally just got straight out of the shower and came to sit down to record, so still a bit damp. But we're at the season finale of season 3. I don't know when the last time I've been this excited for a Tower of God chapter has been. I am so extremely excited. I haven't been spoiled on anything. I've been saying for weeks there's a certain character that's been doing so well in the character poll that I think they're going to show up. Probably. I mean, I guess it's not guaranteed, but I'm just thinking probably because they're doing that well. But I am excited to see that potentially happen. I'm also excited to see what surprises we have because the last two chapters, with everything that happened in the last two chapters, I really don't know what this chapter is going to be about. Like, are we going to jump around? What are we going to stick with? So when I went to click onto the chapter, I did see Bomb in the thumbnail. So we're at least seeing Bomb again. I didn't even know if we were going to see Bomb again. I really have no clue. Do we stick with what we left off on at the end of last chapter? Like, I don't know if we do. I feel like that's sort of the thing that we're just getting hinted with. I would like to jump around a bit and see what like different characters are doing, get some closure here at the end of the season, but we very much might not. Maybe it'll be saved for the spinoff. Maybe when we come back for season 4, it'll happen at the beginning of season 4, because when we came back from last hiatus, we spent a little bit of time with like the Coon and Rachel Arc of Knowledge stuff, and beginning season 3, we jumped around to show what a bunch of characters were doing and where they were going, all of that kind of stuff. Same thing when we started the Hell Train. So, maybe that'll just be saved for the beginning of season 4 and we won't get that yet. We'll just have to wait to see. But yeah, either way, this is going to be chapter 652 or season 3, episode 235, the finale. And since I talked about the last two chapters briefly there and what I might expect from this, which is I have no idea what to expect, I guess with that aside, there's not much more to say there. I will say I mentioned the character poll. Please, please, you got 4 more days. Go vote in the character poll. I think we are at over 9,800 votes so far, so we're going to hit 10,000. We might hit 11,000. I don't think that's unlikely. I think we could pretty definitely hit 11,000. We could even, I think 12 or 13,000 is maybe a little bit more of a stretch, but we could even hit 12 or 13. But really, the votes are looking good. It's been so hard not to spoil anything because the results are so exciting. Really, to me, I think the results are more exciting than last time. They're results that mostly make sense to me, but they are still exciting. I think that there's a really good spread of characters that got voted for. It feels like rather than the having less votes than last character poll, rather than that sort of affecting the actual stratification of where characters ended up in the poll, it's mostly just the stratification of where characters ended up is about as spread out as last time. It's just that the ones at the very, very, very top, instead of having like thousands of votes each, it's a much closer competition. So that is sort of what I would say there. Trying not to spoil too much. I can't wait to finally get to see people's reactions to the results when it's all over. That's going to be so, so fun. But yeah, link will be in the comments and description to that, as it has been the past couple weeks, and I don't really think there's much else to say. If anybody was wondering why I wasn't in Dr. Bonehead's chat lately, I've been going into the chat for the intro and hanging out just in case anybody had any questions about the character poll, and just to hang out while I'm waiting for the chapter to come out, because I gotta wait for 9 for the chapter to come out anyway. And so I went there this time, and there must be a bug with YouTube or something, because it was subscribers only. Like, every time I try to chat, it's like, chat subscribers only. It's like, I've been subscribed for years. I even tried unsubbing and resubscribing. Still didn't work. So if anybody was wondering, I tried to pop in, but chat was not working for me. And I would say, if, Joe usually watches these, I think, if you are watching it, that's not an excuse to take things out of subs only mode. I keep things in subs only mode as well, because my thoughts are, I've seen so many streams get derailed by people spamming even sometimes some pretty messed up stuff in chat and bots and things like that. So to me, I'm like, if you're going to come in to chat messing things up, spamming anything messed up, I'm going to put that tiny little hurdle there of, if you want to do it, at least give me a sub, at least click the subscribe button and then get banned. But yeah, with all that aside, I guess that's about it. So yeah, if anybody has any questions about the poll or any last minute things, just, let me know. But oh yeah, I should probably say when the results are going to be. So it's going to end on the 27th. What I'll probably do is when I wake up on the 28th is when I'll actually end the voting period, because I know some of you might be in time zones that are later than me, so that makes it so that everybody will get a chance to vote actually on the 27th. So I'll probably end it when I wake up on the 28th. Then I've got to go through and double check all the votes just to make sure there was no cheating, no screwery afoot. And then I have to make the results into some sort of graphic, which is probably going to be all day, every day kind of work for a while. That's probably going to take hours. So that's going to be a tough one, but I'm going to try to be done by Sunday. It is going to be extremely tough to be done with that by Sunday, but I will try to have it done by Sunday night at least, so that maybe if Joe wants to do a reaction stream to it on Sunday night when he usually does his reactions, that's cool. I know a lot of people do reactions on like Monday or Tuesday, so they can, if they want to do reactions on Monday or Tuesday to the results, they can. So I'll try to have it done by Sunday night though. And when I do it, I'm going to make my own video to reveal the results here on the channel too. I'm going to send the results out to anybody else who might want to make reactions or anything like that. So if you have anybody who wants to that you know of that I don't know, tell them to contact me or tell me about them so I can contact them. Or if you yourself want to make Tower of God videos, if you want to do a reaction stream or a reaction video to them or anything, let me know and I'll give you the results as soon as they're done. But then once I make my video, once I give people a couple days so that they hopefully won't be spoiled, maybe by Wednesday I'll just post all of the graphics for all of you to have to use wherever you want to use them. So that'll be what I do once the poll's over. But with that aside, no more long Haku intro. Like I said, I'm more excited to read this chapter than I've been in a long time. I wonder, so for those of you who read the Raws, you are already 3 months deep into a hiatus. At least you've had content to watch, I guess, from everybody that does things officially. So yeah, you're already 3 months deep. I wonder how much longer this hiatus will be before we come back with whatever's next, whether the spin-off season 4. I don't know how CU's planning to do these things. But either way, we're starting off with the Revolution ship. Okay, we're seeing the group chat to kick things off. Let me double check, make sure you can see things all right. All right. And then Keating's ship there as well. Getting another shot of the little mast, the figurehead with the Zahard eyes. We see the boss here, the Daejang captain. Where the heck did that beast come from all of a sudden? That was a close call. I'm glad the others seem to be okay. Holy shit, I thought I was a goner. I managed to escape on the floating ship. Would you come get me? That's probably Michelle. I don't want them to die yet. I still need them. That doesn't make quite as much sense for Bellerear to say, so I think that might be Michelle. And now, is that Keating's troops? Where did that fleet come from? Or maybe not, because he's reacting like that. What's going on? There appears to be a floating carrier that was hiding behind a cloaking spell. Oh, so they were cloaking like what Madarako did that time. What? How'd they know where we are? That crest. So is this the real Zahard's army? And also, the fact that they knew where they were going to be is interesting. Like they knew where they were warping to. We have the ... from Keating though, so I wonder if this is us just being shown Keating, or if we are supposed to be suspicious of Keating here. We have an entire fleet. Those are Zahard's forces. Robodon's ship. Okay, we're seeing Robodon's ship now. We have Kadede. Again, final chapter and everything. We're getting Kadede screen time. What's this? The lighthouse has detected something. A fleet is approaching up ahead. Oh my god, what if? What? Whose ships are they? If these are Zahard's as well? I was thinking Zahard might be going after Revolution, but what if Zahard's going after Keating and Lobodon? What if they're like, okay, if Traumare's down, we don't need anybody else taking over the Lopobia family head. We need, like, rather than having somebody take over and have them, like, be potentially at odds with the will of the other families, are they maybe just saying, okay, with Traumare out of the picture, we need to wipe out the Lopobia family? A fleet's approaching up ahead. What? Whose ships are they? I'll try to check with the lighthouse, sir. I've identified the ships. They're... Okay, this is a little different looking. Zahard's forces. So Zahard might be going after Kirin and Lobanon. It's Liboric, the 3rd Army Corps commander. So Liboric's the 3rd Corps commander now. So I wonder then, unless this is a translation issue, it could be a translation issue. Does this mean then that... Why is he 3rd now? So Liboric maybe took over the 3rd, or maybe was already kind of the 3rd. Him and his new squadron commanders. I guess he doesn't have Arie anymore, but I guess he probably has the other ones still, because the one, like, dark skin guy could bring the others back to life, right? Wasn't that something he could do? So he might be 3rd Army Corps commander now. 5th Army Corps is donezo, seemingly. And I guess 4th Army Corps is going to be Calavan again. I was thinking that Liboric's leftover forces and Calavan's leftover forces would join together, because Calavan lost Elpathion. So I was thinking that maybe they would say, okay, Liboric, you got embarrassed or whatever. I don't know. He really didn't. Like, he seems disappointing, I think, to a lot of fans. I've seen a lot of fans complain that they wanted more of Liboric and Calavan and stuff. But really, Liboric kind of just succeeded in what he was doing. So, in all reality, I was thinking maybe it would be like Liboric's the Corps commander, and then Vice Commander replacing Elpathion is Calavan, or vice versa, where Calavan's now going to be Commander, and then Vice Commander would be Liboric. And then so he would still, like, Calavan would still have Arie Bright Sharon, Ha-Chon-Hee, and Yono Wan probably, but Kun-Hin Luk is taken out, so Kun-Hin Luk would get replaced by the one dark-skinned, unnamed division commander, because Urayo got defeated, they don't need him anymore, the three-mouth guy got off-screen, don't need him anymore, and Arie is left, she's out of there. So I thought that maybe he would take over the Kun-Hin Luk space. Since the numbers worked out so perfectly, I thought maybe the two groups would just kind of fuse together into one. But this makes sense, since Liboric is kind of like, so if the character that, well, I guess it wouldn't be spoilers anymore, since this is the last chapter we're going to see. I think that we're going to see Adori, because Adori's done so well in the character poll. And if that's the case, we know that Liboric is like he was directly working for Adori herself. So it would make sense then if he's getting sent after one group, and then she is maybe with the other group. We have the Growing Rift Part 2. Stay calm. Focus on the flow of Shinsu, and we're getting to bomb now? Who said that? Take a few deep breaths. And I think he's seeing it. He's seeing the Shinsu within all things. And this seems like it's probably still V or the V-hole or whatever talking to Bomb. I have, in my notes, been kind of separating V and the V-hole, and I can just put the two notes together if I need to in the future, just in case, because this does seem to be V to a certain degree, but the way Mirchia's talking still seems sus. V's backstory is still kind of unclear to us, so there is still a chance to me that this is V, but it's also not V. It's like this is V, whoever's in the V-hole, whoever took control of Bomb, but it's like an aspect of V that he left behind. Maybe he couldn't leave his real self behind, but he could leave an avatar of his vengeance behind or something, or just a piece of himself. So maybe this is just a vengeful piece of V rather than the actual guy himself. Like maybe V himself actually died. The backstory's still super unclear. But I'm assuming that's who's talking to Bomb here, but it could even be something else like the Thrissa. I doubt it. So giving yourself over to the Massive Flow, it's like, okay, if you become one with the Shinsu, if you truly, truly get to understand it, then you can do anything, right? You can create life or do any of this other crazy stuff that Irregulars have done before. So maybe that's the next step. Attention, please. This is an announcement for everyone aboard the ship. We'll soon be landing on the docking platform. Okay, where are they going? We see a platform. Please, brace for impact. Docking. Okay, I want to see more FUG. Can we see some more FUG? That'd be exciting. Lozlek says he'll be here soon. How long? Oh my god. Is this going to be Seto? Or a new Slayer? I'd be excited to see a new Slayer. Like a new Elder, that's cool and all, but a new Slayer would be sick. In about 10 minutes. That's not precise enough. He'll be arriving in 9.5 minutes, I believe. FUG. Alright. Okay. You'd better be right, or you're fired. What? Luzlek's personal Isis Ademone? I will look up how to pronounce it in just a second. Actually, you know what? I can look up how to pronounce it right now. Let's also pull up the Korean chapter. Okay, hopefully I will not be in trouble. I am not going to scroll any. I'm just going to leave it here. Hopefully I'll not be in trouble for showing any of the Korean chapter. Let me see. So how did they say it? Isis Ademone? And then this here is Sa-su. So Isas is correct. She's Isas, not Isis, Isas. And then that is de. Is that de? Yeah, that's D, right? So that is Ade, and then Monet. So it is Ademone. So Isis Ademone is a good pronunciation. I'll just leave that up. Let's go back to the English, though. And he's bringing the Slayer candidate with him, isn't he? So I guess she is kind of like, if she's an assistant, maybe above, maybe like above the rank of Elder? Or like, I mean, it's probably not above, but she's maybe like Elder level of importance. The kid who studied with that weakling Hajin Sung. I can't wait to see for myself just how pathetic he is. Weird inclusion of a completely new character right here at the end. That's exciting. You're awake, says Jin Sung. Master? Viol? Is that you? Are you alright? You're not hurt or anything, are you? I'm fine, Master. Just a little dizzy. The bigger question, sorry, every time I see dizzy now. How did I end up here all of a sudden? What happened to the game? Why am I all by myself? Where are Kun and Rak? Listen, Viol, I know this is all very sudden and confusing, but I don't fully understand yet what happened to you either. As for the game, the Lopobia family lost. And their leader Traumare died soon afterward. Ah, I see. And what about the others? They should be okay. I'm not exactly sure where they are, but there haven't been any more deaths in the arena. Really? I heard from an eyewitness who was there, so it's probably true. So who would be the eyewitness that got in contact? Is it maybe one of Bomb's other teammates? Maybe Warriun? Then what about me? Why did I suddenly pass out and wake up here? Well, the docking procedure will begin shortly. Attention everyone aboard the ship. I wish I knew. Please brace for impact. And we see them landing. Some other FUG ships here on this carrier. And now Luzlek's exiting with Bomb and Jinsung. Welcome back, we have Isas. Lord Luzlek. Forgive me for worrying you, Ademone. Okay, so maybe it's one of those surname first kind of things. She's from the Isas family. Not at all, sir. I'm just relieved to see that you weren't injured in battle. Come now, we must hurry. There are enemies lurking all around us. Yes, my lord. And she glances back to Bomb. He looks as weak as the rumors say. He doesn't deserve the honor of becoming a slayer. There she goes again, says Jinsung. Focus your mind. Words and actions carry no importance in themselves, says potentially the V-hole. What really matters is the flow within them. Then, who are you? Okay, so Bomb is the brown scratches. What are you doing inside me? Viol? I understand this must be uncomfortable for you, but could you just trust me for now? So true inner devil stuff going on. At least until I can squeeze through the rift into this world and appear in my full form. Again, is this going and appear in his full form? So is he not going to need to take over the body in the end if he can come back through? This is very interesting stuff. This could be like squeezing through into this world specifically too. Is like maybe he, whether it's V, whether it's whoever outside the tower, maybe, yeah, he's outside of the tower, and instead of opening the door, he's like breaking his way into the tower through bomb, potentially. And if so, this could maybe explain even more deeply how the world of Tower of God works. Then, I will be you. Okay, never mind, he will be him, and you will be me. Near the battlefield. Now we see the Ark of Knowledge, Popodal family's battleship. There's a twinkle in the sky. That's scary. My lord, I see a small floating object up ahead. Okay, this is neat. It's about the size of a small combat plane. A floating object, you say? Is there any way to identify it? Oh, it's cool. We have a new sort of arm for Gaston. Like, that's cool. Instead of just regrowing his arm, he like makes a new one. I think that is cooler than if he had just regrown it using Shinsu techniques or whatever. I'm having a light bearer analyze it as we speak. It won't be long now. Wait, that symbol. That's the symbol of, okay, the commander-in-chief of Zahar's royal guards. Arie Adori Zahar. So they're making her Arie, which is odd. I don't know how I feel about it. We'll have to just wait and see how it goes. I don't know how I feel about it, though. I kind of liked the idea that Adori wasn't from any one of the specific families. And also, like, her being Arie to me kind of takes away a little bit of the hype for Hageferion or Rose. So I don't know how I'm feeling about that. I kind of liked her not being from any of the specific families. At least us not knowing which family. And we're seeing our first shot then. One of Zahar's princesses. Not just one of Zahar's princesses. I feel like that is downplaying Adori. Like, head of the personal guard and everything, commander-in-chief, the strongest non-sealed princess. What? And is this her? We see a katana. And then, what the hell? What's going on? Says Dorothy. There you are. I've been looking for you, Yule. Yule. It's you. We've only been apart for a few days, but it feels like we haven't seen each other in ages, don't you think? Oh, Yule was watching when that one thing, when the Shipwanryu got destroyed, right? So maybe he even contacted Jinsung for some reason? Let's get out of here. So, if this is the case, what is the deal then if Adori's here? Is it going to be a case of Adori going after Gaston because one of the three orders was to take out the Popodal family? Is Adori just going to take out Gaston? And then Lobadan and Kirin are being targeted by Liboric, and then maybe the one that we didn't get a specific name for or anything, maybe that is Calavan? I don't know. And also, Yule here is interesting because Yule was working for one of the bosses, but also he was apparently working with Levi, and Levi was working with Zahard. He was sponsored by Zahard. So it's like Zahard and the bosses, who are also, I guess, calling themselves Zahard, are connected with Yule and Levi and all this stuff. This ship's about to be blown to pieces. What? Then she reaches for her blade and draws with a drawing slice. We have Proust probably trying to stop it using the lighthouses here, and the glasses are sliced through. So Proust getting taken out immediately, last chapter being like, we need to hunt down the traitors, and then immediate getting taken out. And she slices through the entire ship itself. Very One Piece-esque feats. So yeah, that was one of the three orders, but it kind of, I don't know, it kind of feels like, okay, if that, like, could you have not done that all along then? Alright. Give the king a message for me. I've completed my first mission. As soon as the next target's been located, we get a shot of her face, I'll proceed to eliminate him right away. Refugee Slayer candidate. And then that's where we end. That is a crazy cliffhanger. So that's where we end with this. Refugee Slayer candidate, and then, hello everyone, this is CU. Thank you all for reading this week's episode. One of my specific goals for this season was to communicate with readers using primarily the story itself rather than comments such as this one, so I apologize if I've come across as more distant than before. Honestly, I really think with a lot of things, we kind of needed the blog post back. We needed some extra information. We needed some extra clarification. The story has not been the best for the previous arc, but even before the previous arc, I really think the blog post would have helped. I mean, if the blog posts were used to talk about the actual story rather than just health issues, not that I don't care about the health issues, not that I don't feel for what CU's going through, how hard he's working, but I think some more, like, clarification on the story like we used to get in the past would probably have been helpful. Since this season's story has been more epic than any of the previous episodes, a number of unanticipated difficulties arose in the course of preparing and producing the series this time around. Although I completely understand the feedback that you readers have been kind enough to give me, unfortunately it's too late to change some aspects of the story now due to limitations such as the predetermined direction and the setting of the series, as well as some internal difficulties with regard to production. And again, internal difficulties with regard to production, it's probably like, I mean, he can't change the way things are going, like when this arc is getting the like lowest critical scores in the series by a long shot. Like when you're preparing things months in advance and working things out with the rest of the staff to draw things in advance, it takes a little bit of time to sort of readjust. I do think, though, again, just to be fairly critical, I do think that there really was plenty of time. Like the bad scores and the not great writing's been going on for so long that things really could have been fixed by now, before getting to this point even. So it's like you can't go back and change some things, but I really think that more probably could have been done. But I don't know, this doesn't leave me with a lot of faith. Let's see, where were we? And in regard to production, I think a part of it might also be we don't know what editors and what Naver is saying behind the scenes, because there are a lot of stories that manga authors have said, and that's a little bit different than webtoons, a little bit different than manhwa, but with something as big as Tower of God, I think that CU probably has the same sort of pressures, where a lot of manga authors have said in the past that they wanted to do things in the story one way, but the editors didn't like it, or the production company didn't like it, and so they had to write the story a different way. And we don't know how much of that is being put on CU, and if so, how much of that is stuff that has been a part of the story going so generally downhill. So we don't know how much of that's being pressed on them. Like one example, I think, is the mangaka for Fairy Tail, I think, said that they were like, okay, I wanted to write the Spriggan 12, and then the editors in production and whatever were like, no, you can't do that, we want a smaller villain group and everything. And he said he had to fight, being like, no, it's important, I want the Spriggan 12 to be 12 people and to be this large. So again, if mangaka have had to fight for stuff like that in the story in the past, it's like, what behind the scenes constraints are there on CU writing his story since it's become so big? And that kind of makes me a little bit sad, because it's like when CU had all of this control, when the story was really small back season 1, early season 2, when it was just getting its start, it was incredible. I'm talking 10 out of 10 good. And so if any of this stuff, any of the changes in pace we've seen has been due to people telling CU, no, write it this way, and we're seeing the results are, again, the worst critical reception it's had and the viewer numbers falling off seemingly pretty drastically, then how much can we then say, hey, just let's see you write his story, because it was working 10 years ago, it was working over 10 years ago, but the past 3 to 5 years hasn't been working to the same degree. Sorry, I had to get some water. And continuing, he says, that being said, I personally believe that a creator should only put out their best work, so I apologize to all the readers for any disappointment you may have had with the story so far. Now that the season's come to an end, I'd like to gather the feedback I've received and try to apply as much of it to the next season as possible. I'd also like to make some changes to the production and art style. That would be appreciated. I think the art style has been, again, I used to say that it's not worse, it's different. And I think for most of season 3 that held up, but I think a lot of the stuff this arc specifically just didn't look very good. So I think changing up would be very good. I would love to get back to the way Tower of God used to look, the way things used to be plotted out. So I'll be publishing a spin-off series featuring the characters from Tower of God before the next season begins. Okay, so we are getting the spin-off. So we're getting the spin-off. There's something else I was just about to say. Let me glance back through this again. Oh yeah, talking about using the feedback he received, I think this is important too. I really think another big problem is that, you know, Oda, for One Piece, has been writing something for well over 1,000 chapters. And he usually does like 2 or 3 chapters, takes a week off. 2 or 3 chapters, takes a week off. And I have been saying, basically since I've started making videos, which was 9 years ago, I have been saying that CU really needs that similar sort of schedule. I don't know if Webtoons is something that can afford that schedule for him, but really, really, I think that a chapter or two, or like 2 or 3 chapters and then a week off, 2 or 3 and a week off, I think that would help CU so much. And I think that just taking breaks in general, I think one of the biggest bits of evidence for that for me is coming back from the last hiatus into the hotel, because when he went into the hiatus after the nest, one of the specific reasons when he did this like paragraph thing at the end, he said, I need to take the hiatus to plan out the next arc. And then we came back, and I think that the hotel is one of the best paced arcs in the series. There's not any wasted time, I don't think. We go from one thing to the next, and we do everything in like 25, 26 chapters. We cover everything in that arc. We go through all these different character arcs for these various side characters, finish out those character arcs. Everything was plotted out well. I feel like the main characters were written more well there than they've been written in a long time. And I just think that the hotel arc was really a great example of, you know, taking time to plan out the arc ahead of time and then nailing the arc structure. And again, with the Sprout arc being abysmally structured, again, the worst structured arc in the arc by a long shot, again, a lot of the problems with the story is the structure, pacing things out too long or introducing things too early and then cutting away from them for too long. And if CU had gotten the opportunity to take a hiatus before the Sprout to plan it out ahead of time, could the Sprout have been like 1,000,000 times better? I think it probably could have. I think if he had taken a hiatus and then he made the Sprout and just actually paced it out better, showed things on screen more, spent less time on things that, spent less wasted time, really, then I think it could have been much, much better, because it feels like we've been through 52 chapters of this arc with so much less content in those 52 chapters than in so many shorter arcs. So I think that, again, a hiatus can really, really, really help. And something that I've also been comparing Tower of God to with One Piece is, I always said that Wano in One Piece was one of the worst shonen arcs. This arc is the least good Tower of God arc. I don't know if I hate this arc as much as I do Wano. I don't think this arc is as bad as Wano. And the way that One Piece won me back over, like Wano was so bad that I, stopped making videos on One Piece for a while. But what One Piece did to bring me back was just make good chapter, after good chapter after good chapter, and I sit here and I read One Piece each week and I'm like, wow, this chapter was really good this week. So I think that's all CU really needs to do. If we come back into the spinoff for season 4 and it's like, oh wow, this is a good chapter, and then the next chapter is another good chapter, then I think that that solves the issue, because that's what we've had really here at the end of the season. For the past like 4 or 5 chapters, all of these past 4 or 5 chapters I've read and I've been like, yeah, this is a good chapter. Did I love like every single thing perfectly? Probably not. But even if I didn't love every single thing perfectly, I still think, put out a good chapter and it's all good. So I think that having that time is good too. But he says, I plan on getting started with the spin-off series in the next season almost immediately, so I'll do my best to have everything ready as soon as possible. Thank you all for joining me on this season's journey. I hope to come back better than ever before. Although it can be difficult to fully express at times, as the creator of this series, my love and affection for it remains as strong as ever, for better or worse. So many things have changed and continue to change in the world around us, but I'm always careful to stay true to my original purpose and never lose my spark as a creator. I really appreciate all the care and concern you've shown me, and I'll keep your comments in mind as we move forward together on this adventure. I'll see you again soon in the next season in the spin-off series. Thank you, everyone. He talks about it as if he's going to be doing the spin-off in the next season at the same time, which is crazy. I say, please don't overwork it. Like, here is going to be me taking the care and concern for him. Please don't work on both at the same time. That sounds like way too much. I say I would be happy, even if we don't get season 4 for a year and a half. I am fine with that. Like, especially as long as we're doing the spinoff, I don't care about seeing season 4 again until the spinoff is done. Take as long as you want with the spinoff, and then I can wait for season 4, because really, season 3 in itself has been a side mission. It started off as a side mission to rescue Jinsung, and then it just kept spiraling into more side quest and more side quest, and we've been side questing for like 235 chapters. So I think that, like, I'm fine with just focusing on the side story. We'll get season 4 when we get season 4. I think so long as CU can take his time and be fine and happy with it, then all is good. So yeah, exciting chapter. We've ended the season. Let me remove this so you can see that is completely incorrect. That is even more incorrect. Here, remove that so that you can see the credits. And also, that is not where my cursor is. That cursor on screen, is that what? Okay, it disappeared. What? So very fun. I do have my issues, but I think overall I'm just happy with it. We spent time with Bomb. Cool. Whatever. The whole Bomb with V inside of him stuff, I still don't know how I feel about it, just because it's like, okay, we presented the thorn as being incredibly important, and Ryu gave the thorn. The thorn is part of a prophecy, and the thorn could not have been more irrelevant. For 235 chapters, the thorn could not have been more irrelevant. So it's like, the blue Thrissa and red Thrissa are extremely important, but extremely irrelevant. I mean, Bomb uses them as the cutlery from time to time, but plot-wise, story-wise, I think they could be more. Maybe the blue Thrissa is related to the blue flame that V got, so I think they could be more. But for what we've got, they've been pretty irrelevant. So for me, we get Leviathan. He's like, oh, you need the power of the water dragons, and I'm so glad. It again is kind of a not good move as a writer to just drop that, if we did just drop that, but I hope we did. It seems like we did, and it's not a good move as a writer, but I don't care. Like, I've watched other reactors say the same thing. I think Dr. Bonehead said the same thing. Naya's said the same thing, where it's like, see, you had a plot point, and he totally dropped that plot point, but I don't care because it wasn't a good plot point to begin with. I don't want to see Bomb go around collecting water dragons. Leviathan already feels sort of irrelevant, and if we're moving into the future away from Traumare, probably irrelevant. So to me, it's like, okay, now Bomb has a voice inside of him. Why should I care? Like, oh yeah, the voice is V. Wow. Yeah, I thought the thorn was going to be relevant. I thought the thorn was important. So if that's not relevant, how long before the V voice isn't relevant either? How should I care about the V voice? So again, I just still need to be won over on that. I don't care a lot for it, but that's mostly just because I am fatigued on a lot of the main characters. I'm fatigued on Bomb. I'm extremely fatigued on Kun. I don't think they've been written very well in a long, long time. Rack is the most forgivable to me, but that might be because we never see Rack do anything ever for the most part. He finally gets to do something this arc, but that was very light, to be honest. So it's like, and then can you really forgive Rack? He's supposed to be a main character, but he's around doing nothing most of the time. It's like, I'm a little bit fatigued on the main characters. I could do for the spinoff not being about them. I could do for Bomb's allies trying to get stronger and come to rescue him eventually. I don't necessarily need to see more Bomb or Kun. And I could be fine with that. Like, I'm not going to sit around and complain about it if we don't see them. There are fans that'll complain if they don't see the main character for too long. I am the opposite. The longer we don't see the main character, the more I think the story will probably benefit from that. Then from there on, again, I don't know how I feel about making Adori and Arie. I'm not a huge fan of it personally. Like, personally, I feel like having Arie Hakuferion's backstory that we already had is good. I don't need Adori to be from any of the 10 families, but she could have been from like a different one we haven't seen before. That'd maybe be a little bit exciting. Or like just have her not have a 10 family name, so then we're all trying to guess. Like with Garam, we're like, which family's Garam from? Or what are Garam's relationships like? How did Zahard find Adori, find a princess that's so strong? I think that having some of that mystery about Adori was nice. And that's like with retconning a little bit of the like flame stuff, the Yan Hana and Yan Yarde into Yan Hana into Yan Yurang. With retconning some of that stuff, it's, to me, like some stuff I think is fine, like we've changed the Yama backstory, but I think doing it too much does such a disservice to the fans of the story, because it's like you have had this lore that's been good for over a decade. You have, like, if there's one thing I could say to CU other than thank you for writing Tower of God and everything, if there's one thing I could say advice-wise to him is you have had a story that has worked for over 10 years. You don't need to retcon things. You don't need to change things. Trust what you have written. You have, like, the story has worked for over 10 years. You don't need to, like, making the, like, Bomb and V whole stuff is kind of weird, because it's like, how does it connect to this? How does it connect to that? Why is Bomb's line being, this is my power? Why does that the gate that V is now maybe trying to make his way through? Where is even V? Honestly, the story being as simple as V killed himself was good. We didn't need this V whole stuff. Like, V killing himself was like a really tragic, good backstory, and now that's kind of gone. So, to me personally, it's like, you had this story that worked. We don't need to change this stuff. This stuff worked. The stuff with the Yeon family and their flames worked. Why are you giving everybody else flames? The stuff with the Yeon family and how the family head worked was good. Why are we changing it? We might not have changed it. We might find out that Yirang became Hana in some way. Maybe she split off a part of herself. Maybe her memories. That was how she got rid of her memories, and that's Ilarde. So we could get some explanations for it. But as for right now, it's like, it feels like you're trying to change things that worked. Why are you trying to change things that worked? Here, changing Adori, not really changing Adori, but giving her the Arie name and everything, you had something that worked. And then it makes me worried for the future, because it's like, okay, Adori just wipes out the Pobedao family seemingly. Okay, what are the stakes then if that's true? Could she have not just done that all along then? Could she not just do that to FUG then? It makes me worried, and it's like, okay, she's going after Bomb. It just feels like, much like the family head conflict, with the pacing we had got before Season 3, it just feels like we're jumping into things that are way too deep. We're jumping into water that's way too deep. We should have built to this a lot better. It feels like we're jumping way too far into the future. We're jumping way too far ahead when we should have just kept building, kept the adventure going, because the adventure through seasons 1 and season 2 was so good, and then season 3 just escalated things way, way, way too quickly. People were complaining about how quickly season 3 was escalating things back in the cage, and now things have gotten this insane. I would also say with the way that he was talking about changing the art style and stuff, again, more things that I would hope for going into the spinoff, going into season 4. I think changing the art style is good, because to me, the art style was at its absolute worst looking this arc. It was kind of fine before this arc. There's still some panels that are not the best here and there, but I think in the hotel it looked really good. Again, it still looked like season 3. I think season 3 started out with a style that I wouldn't say was worse, but I would say was different from like early season 2. It matches up with like late season 2, sort of Last Station kind of stuff, but it didn't look necessarily worse. It looked kind of clunkier, and less expressive, but it was more like, if season 1 and early season 2's art style was like a homemade, freshly baked cookies, then it's like season 3's art style is Chips Ahoy. They're cookies. They were made in a factory. They work. But like, it's not like, made from home with love kind of art style. It's churned out of a factory kind of art style is how season 3's art style felt to me. So it had less personality, but it was just more stable, I guess, until, we're building up, and it kind of deteriorated a bit going into the nest until we got to the end of the nest, where it just felt like they turned things around. Things were looking really good, going from the late nest where things looked really good into the hotel, things looked really good. But then as we kept going on again, it felt like that fatigue set in where things got worse and worse until this arc. There's just a lot of panels where the perspectives are really, really off. A lot of the times the characters look really, really clunky. So I think that changing up the art style, maybe going back to the way things used to look, would be really nice. I would really appreciate that a lot. And in terms of the storytelling, if we could also go back to the way that things once were, because I think that season 3, again, not necessarily worse, but different, through the Nest saga. But then getting out of the Nest saga, I thought generally all of the arcs of the Nest saga, I like the nest, I like the walls, the cage is, I think a lot of people's least favorite, but I don't really hate the cage that much. I think the cage is fine. But I think that though I like those 3 arcs, I also think they're fine arcs. If I'm ranking the arcs, they're not getting higher than kind of midway really, compared to the arcs from season 2 and season 1. And then getting into the Declaration of War saga, you've got the stuff between the Sprout and the hotel and the Sprout. So the hotel, I was reading that and I was like, this is a return to what Tower of God's writing used to be like in terms of the way that things were structured. And it was really, really good. I would say that the hotel is probably, I don't know, I really like the walls. But either the walls or the hotel, but I think maybe the hotel is like the best arc in the season. And then we go from there, and it felt like things kind of were falling apart a little. They were less structured when we were getting to the stuff between the hotel and the Sprout. But things were still pretty good. I would say I don't know how I would compare that to the Nest Saga's arcs. But then when you get to the Sprout arc, and it's not just the least good arc in Tower of God, it's the least good arc in Tower of God by an extremely large margin. I don't think that it comes close to any other arc in Tower of God in terms of quality. I don't think that it's nearing any of them. I think that it has the Amazu flashback, and that's kind of about it. The Amazu flashback's good. The development for Traumare Gastang is good, but not perfect. But everything outside of those things wasn't very good, to the point where some of it was just outright bad. So I really think that in terms of Tower of God storytelling, CU really, really does need to change things around. It's like, I want to, of course, continue to love Tower of God, continue to cover Tower of God, and be a fan of it and everything. But also, as a fan, when it comes to what I want from it, what I hope from it, I hope from it to get better. I hope it does not take the writing style of the Sprout into the future anymore. I hope that this writing style is done and we get back to what Tower of God actually was. And I hope that it can get its identity back, because it feels like it's lost a ton of its identity through season 3. Season 3 has really assassinated a lot of Tower of God's identity as a series. And I hope that we can actually get back onto an actual, like, main story, because again, as important as some of this stuff has been with like family heads getting involved in everything, when you go back and you marathon through and you read through the story, season 3 has been just side quest after side quest after side quest, and it feels like we could have written those side quests to where they felt like main quests, but at the end of the day, the way they were written, they're side quests and they feel like side quests. And it feels like we've just taken a third of the series away from the series. So it's, again, like I was saying, assassinated Tower of God's identity a bit. So I think art style wise, I really hope that we can improve things. And I think a part of improving things is taking things back more similar to how they were in the past. And I think that the same thing is true for the writing style. So I really do hope that we can improve with both of those things. But yeah, with that aside, I guess there's not anything else for me to say here. Again, let me glance back through the chapter really quick. So Adori said that one of the targets was down. I don't know how I'm feeling. With Gaston. I really don't think we needed this Adori stuff in hindsight. Like, I think Gaston getting the new arm is cool. I think the idea of Gaston helping Kun and then Dorothy find Bomb is interesting, but now that probably won't be happening if the two of them are running away with Yule. Them running away with Yule is interesting, neat, because it could tie into Revolution stuff. It could tie into stuff with Zahard and get us back to Yuan Danhua. All of that would be neat, but because we went from Levy working with Zahard to Levy being connected to them, they're connected to the boss, it makes me wonder how much CU is keeping that all together. And if Gaston's dead here, if Gaston was taken out, that just feels quite lame. So I'm thinking he likely wasn't, because it wasn't written like he was. But then again, Dewan wasn't written like Dewan was taken out. That was basically a comedy scene, and we spent an entire arc building Dewan's character for her to get taken out in what's basically a comedy scene. Doom getting off-screened after spending an entire arc on him. So I really think that, you know, if Doom's actually dead, that's egregious writing on CU's part, and again, he needs to do better. If Dewan's actually dead, that's egregious writing, CU needs to do better. And if Gaston's taken out here, again, that's pretty bad writing still. So those are just more examples of we really, like, the Sprout was really bad by Tower of God standards, and I hope that things can improve. And honestly, when you think about it, he talks about the reception and everything. You would think that things have got to improve. Actually, let me bring it up here since I have Naver pulled up anyway. We can see here on Naver some of these more recent chapters. Actually, I don't know how much you can actually see. Yeah, you can kind of see. You can see the ratings here. You know, there's some 9s, there's some 8s, but then here you have 6s, you have 5s, there's even a 3 somewhere, I think. You have the lowest rated, there's a 4.9 there, I think 3 is maybe chapter 215 then. There's some of the lowest rated chapters ever. Like, it pretty much was never dropping below like an 8 in the past. The very rare times it did were like crazy. It's like crazy for it to be dropping below like an 8 or a 9. And then here, this arc has just been constantly below those things. Some of the worst scores ever. The comments almost universally just cooking how bad things were. So you gotta see, like, the comments are absolutely cooking the chapter you put out. The scores are the worst they've ever been. When you look at the readership numbers for webtoons, I think it's because less people are reading on webtoons, because why would you when the Raws are 12 chapters ahead? That's something else that we need to do better with, but I don't know if webtoons has an option there. I've never talked to anybody from webtoons, but some of the other Tower of God content creators have, and they all say very good things about them. And I think that the thing with webtoons is that they are limited. they are a distributor for the English translation. So they might have certain limitations that they can't go past. Like, they're 12 chapters behind, which is egregious. It's like, nobody's going to pay you. Nobody's going to pay for FastPass when FastPass is 2 months behind. Nobody's going to be reading here officially when Raws are 3 months ahead. Like, that's bad, but it's a situation where if Naver or Line is like, hey, Webtoons, you're going to be 6 chapters behind, there's probably not anything Webtoons can do about that. And really what they're doing is they're just throwing money away. They're just throwing views away. They could very easily have those views by just putting out the translation, but and have that money by having FastPass actually caught up to where Raws are. But they're just leaving it on the table for what seems like no reason. So awful business decisions there. But that's why I'm saying viewership numbers are like extremely down when you look at Webtoons. But that's probably just because of how, like, it might not be people giving up on Tower of God. It might be people giving up on the official translation. So you can't really judge that. But when you're seeing viewership numbers down by a lot, like nearly 4/5 of viewers gone, kind of a lot. If you're seeing that, if you're seeing the, critical reception at the worst it's ever been, absolutely getting cooked in the comments, then you really got to think you got to change things. There's no way I think that CU looks at this and says, no, I don't want to change things. But again, like I was saying earlier, I don't know how much CU gets to say how much he wants to change it, or how much of the bad is because of Naver meddling. But you have to think that if it is because of Naver meddling, they've got to be able to see this, right? Or Line or whatever. They've got to be able to see it, right? They've got to be able to see the bad reception and say, okay, this isn't working. We need to let him do what he can do again. So I just, I don't know. Also, Gaston's hand here is kind of messed up, but, ignoring that a little bit. But yeah, his fingers, it's like, what's going on with his index finger here? Like, why is it going off to the side like that? And also, if this is that knuckle and this is that knuckle, then what is going on down here? Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind Esos's introduction. I think it's cool introducing a new character like this, though I will say one thing that it kind of makes me not really worried with, but one thing I just want to put out there is, like I was saying earlier, I keep thinking, like, you had a story that has worked for over a decade, you have lore that's worked for over a decade, stick with your lore, stick with what you have written. Instead of introducing a new character like this, I would have loved somebody like a Slayer or something. I would love for the structure of FUG as we've had it presented to be maintained. I don't want to lose that in the story's identity even more, like we did with Traumaray. We had Traumaray and the Lopobia family set up during the name hunt station with, the 20 branches, the 20 creatures with Traumaray. And when we got into the actual Lopobia family and the actual creatures of Traumaray, we lost that lore. It was kind of just all over the place, and it makes it so that you feel like paying attention to the lore just isn't rewarding anymore, because it's like, okay, is CU going to stick with this lore? Is he just going to throw it all away? Is it going to be completely unorganized like the Lopobia family stuff was? So that's another thing that worries me too. I hope that FUG isn't kind of just lost writing wise compared, like, similar to what happened with the Lopobia family. And lastly, when it comes to what we're going to see in, I guess, Season 4, I would say that we would get answers on this in Season 4, probably rather than the spinoff, is it seems like Liboric is going after Lobadan. Zahard's Empire might be like, okay, Lopobia family, you failed. If Traumaray's dead, we don't need the rest of the family. They might be trying to, make sure that Lobadan or Kirin aren't there to fill that power vacuum. So it seems like Liboric was going after, Liboric was going after Lobadan, and this ship is pulling up to where Kirin is, or maybe he's not going after Lobadan. Maybe they're even trying to say, okay, we need to talk to you, Lobadan. We're making you the new head of the family. But these ships are interesting. They look almost, similar in design in some ways to Kirin ships, but whether they are or not, God, there are just such cool ship designs in Tower of God. It just makes me think, like, are they going after Keating? Are they going after Revolution? Are they going after both because Keating's a part of Revolution? Is Keating playing the long game? Did he betray his family to getting close with Revolution so that he could then turn on Revolution? I don't think that's what's happening. But then it's interesting, if Zahard's working with Levy, who was working with Yul and Kel, who was working with the Daejong, it seems like Zahard has some connections to the bosses and captains, to the Red Light District, to the dump. And if all of that is true, then is like Zahard working with Revolution in some weird way? Again, this stuff, on the one hand, I think if it goes somewhere good, then it's like, oh, this is good mystery. But I feel like Tower of God in Season 3 has let me down so many times that I'm kind of like, okay, if it goes somewhere, then it's a good mystery. But if it doesn't go anywhere, it's just more disorganization. It's just more like sloppiness that I worry about. But, lots of complaints here because I think it was a fine and all chapter, but as I've been saying all arc, it's a deeply flawed arc to say the least. Not the worst arc I've ever read. The worst arc I've ever read in Tower of God for sure. But that's where I'm sitting with things. But either way, I'll end things here. I've got a ton of other Tower of God stuff I'm going to be doing. I'm gonna finally cover Season 2 of the anime, hopefully, or at least finish covering it. I have recorded a video on the second opening for anime Season 2. I haven't posted it yet, though. I recorded it the other day, and I just haven't, found a good time to edit it. I don't really know what I'm doing with it yet. Just because, once again, it's not like I hated the opening. I didn't really think it was great either. I went into the opening expecting to be whelmed, and I was whelmed. So that's kind of where we are. So I'm going to do that video eventually, maybe sometime and Wednesday maybe, because tomorrow and Tuesday people will probably want me to work on Kubera and ORV. So maybe Wednesday I'll try to post that as sort of a last reminder, hey, go vote in the character poll. So that'll be up. I've got a ton of other projects I'm working on. So I'm just going to be thinking about Tower of God nonstop for so much. I have so much I need to do. So with that aside, I am going to have the stuff up next Sunday, hopefully, the results for the character poll. You've got until the 27th, technically the morning of the 28th when I wake up, to go vote. So yeah, go vote in that. Link in the comments and description. I can't wait to see people's reactions to the results and everything. Again, if I didn't love Tower of God, I wouldn't have been making videos on it for 9 years. I wouldn't be going through the character poll, because it's been a little bit of a lot just to do the character poll stuff, and it's gonna be all day every day kind of work to try to turn the results into something physical that I can share, especially if I'm trying to give myself a Sunday deadline. I don't know if I'm making that deadline. I'm gonna be really real with ya. But with all that aside, I guess that's it. Thank you for watching. If you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, my thoughts and reaction. Subscribe for more Tower of God and much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. If you don't like the Discord server, it's free and open for anyone. If you want to help support the channel by dropping a super thanks, it's appreciated. If you want to help support the channel, get your name at the end of videos, get One Piece videos a bit early, then you can hit join down below to become a member. Go to patreon.com/HakuOfTheTubes, or a link will be in the description to become a patron. Thank you so much to people who are already patrons and channel members. Thank you to chosen regulars Evan Hawley and Bertie Wooster, Magical Girls, FRNono, JA, and The D-Ban, Cheerwton students, Daveling staff, and Folded Ghoul, Slayer candidates, SG and Stan Cedar, and Pure Element Paterial. Thank you so much for your support. This is going to be a long edit that I have to go do, and my voice is killing me from, I've kind of been going at it for well over an hour now, so thank you, and I'll see you all next time.